Free energy provided electricity 150 years ago. I want to bring to your attention another interesting historical problem. There are a lot of testimonies, drawings, and a decent number of photographs on this topic. Let's try to collect the data in a heap and figure it out. There is such a hypothesis of alternatives that earlier, before modern electrification, mankind already had this resource at its disposal, but the source of receipt was of a different nature than the burning of oil, gas and coal, nuclear energy and transportation to the consumer by wire. Probably people were able to collect free energy, ether energy, atmospheric electricity or something like that. That is, humanity had without fuel technology for generating electricity, and possibly other types of energy. And deleting it from history and transferring, generally violent, to modern types of energy, combustion, nuclear fusion and, most importantly, transmission by wire, occurred quite recently, at the turn of the 19th-20th centuries. In fact, the First World War was a feature of before and after. This was done so that the rich continued to grow richer, and the poor to pay for all the benefits of this world. If we enlarge the photo and take a closer look, we will see that the entire pavilion is full of strange devices, but not a single object of electricity generation is visible in the form in which we imagine them. But on the other hand, there are a lot of models of churches, as well as lattices, sticks and other products on which there are mini-domes. And oddly enough, a lot of light bulbs are on and off. Does the power cable come from somewhere outside, or is it all on batteries? Some fantasy. Or maybe all the same energy is received by the same mini-domes, such as these? Let's look at other examples. Photo from 1868. Wireless generation of electricity and use of it through gas discharge lamps. Strange design. Or is it ionized electricity receivers? Photo. Illumination in honor of the coronation of Alexander II, 1856. Illumination of the Resurrection Gate and the Kremlin, 1856, by Gustav Schwarz. How is such a large-scale illumination carried out? What are the light pillars in the photo in the park? There are quite a lot of similar moments that immediately raise questions regarding electrification and lighting in old photographs and sketches. Such an illumination, at least 100 kilowatts at any conservative estimate. Where did they get them? There were no power plants, at least powerful enough in Russia. Even if we consider as an option that the organization of this illumination was done by foreigners, well, they didn't actually pull the cable from Europe. And even if by wires, everything rests on the same power plant, well, they didn't exist then. But there were books like this, Atmospheric Electricity? There is also a hypothesis that the domes of temples are a kind of energy accumulator of the surrounding space. Hypothesis about the use of domes as an energy storage. Hypothesis about the use of domes as an energy storage. The version is beautiful and quite convincing. But this, even if we accept this point of view, it seems to me that they were rather programmers under whose dome, grace, descends on people, maybe an amplifier of the energy of the noosphere, the information field. Or maybe the same ether? There are many such strange photos and sketches all over the world. Hypothesis, nothing more. There is no 100% chance to prove or disprove it. It would seem that there are convincing arguments for the fact that this is a far-fetched idea, but at the very first close detailed examination of one or another historical fact like the photo, it turns out that the arguments about the absurdity of the hypothesis of fuel-free energy of the past are not so convincing. Personally, I do not completely refute the possibility of total fuel-free electrification in the past. There is too little empirical data. But this is certainly a significant body of information in a huge repository of inexplicable, inconsistent and dumbfounding facts about our present past. What do you think? Free electricity or lost energy secrets of the Russian Empire. In this article, we will continue to study with you unusual artifacts of the Russian Empire, which, unfortunately, have been preserved exclusively in archival photographs. Above is a photograph of the First Tobolsk Museum. Particular attention should be paid to the facade of the building and the dome itself. This museum is still functioning safely, only these details were dismantled, and not because of their dilapidation, but in order to hide the engineering structure of the past. This is far from the only case of deliberate destruction of an existing power plant. Above is Omsk 1885. On the roofs of the houses there were special devices, circled in circles. Thanks to them, the lights were on in the houses. And if you recall the lessons of history, then they said that before the revolution, almost everyone sat by torches and candles. These installations were completely destroyed, together with the temples, which were essentially giant energy installations, but more on that in the following articles, in the period from 1925 to 1940. Irkutsk 1891. The rich house is decorated with an installation of a characteristic type for all rich buildings of that period. And it consisted of 2 spears, between which there was a large metal lattice. The main nodes in the free energy receiver were 2 spears. In order for the installation to stop working, it was enough just to remove them. But we have considered wealthy houses, now let's look at the most ordinary houses of ordinary hard workers. Kurgan 1876. As we can see, similar units were installed on ordinary houses, however, in a simplified form. And they were completely different modifications. Blagoveshchensk 1891. It turns out that the only difference was that ordinary houses did not have their own dome system, the so-called wave generator. Another engineering solution was applied here. Vologda, 1893. This photograph is taken as an example, but there were a great many such installations literally throughout the empire. Here we see poles with a special frame. They were energy relays from a large dome throughout the rest of the street. Moreover, the public dome system looked different, for example, Moore 1864. Or like this, the city of Perm in 1880. But do not think that these installations were used exclusively for lighting. For other household needs, they are also quite suitable. Water column at the end of the 19th century, the city is unknown. Kurgan 1895. And here we see a primordially Russian invention, namely the combination of one installation to provide energy to the temple and the adjacent house. And now pay attention to the pipes of the house. Zia River area, Amur region, late 19th century. On the pipes we see very strange units, the principle and purpose of which is even rather difficult to imagine. But again, this is not the only setting. On the floating lighthouse of the Kerch crossing, these incomprehensible spheres are also installed. It turns out that the energy of the past was developed and used from the most prosperous houses to a simple hut.